This video is going to show you Solar GM with a unique build submitted by a Discord user on my Discord server, and this is one of the most highly requested builds for me to run in a Solar GM, so this video is for those people. Warlock mains, this is dead important build. You need to get this class item role that I'm mentioning. Much like I told you about the Starfire Filaments role, it's similar to this. However, I am late to the party and people have been running this build. I just haven't until now, but you know, here is that build. Base information, the GM is inside Terminus, surges are Void Surge, Strand Surge, Void Threat, Champions are Barrier Unstartable, and some other GM mods not worth mentioning. The build in question is Spirit of the Claw, which adds 2 melee charges, and Spirit of the Necrotic, which adds poison damage to all melee damage, charged and uncharged melee. A fantastic, well-rolled class item. This is build crafting to its maximum, Warlock mains. So, here's the build. Song of Flame goes on because it's enhanced by the spirits I just mentioned. You get 2 melee charges and you add poison to Song of Flame damage. Okay, I went with Heal and Rift. Now, the dim link I used his dim link as a base foundation for the build, and then I'd done some alterations to fit my playstyle needs and the activity that I'm doing. He submitted it with a Phoenix Dive, and I'm going to tell you why I didn't do it with Phoenix Dive, and I'm noticing for some reason, Warlock mains since Final Shape, this is a behavioural pattern I've noticed, are being elitist towards Warlocks who use Rifts. I've heard the phrases, if you use a Rift, you're blueberry. Rifts are too slow, the game's now too fast for Rifts. This is such bad takes. Take your bad takes, pack your bags, and go and tell somebody who cares about it, because that is ridiculous, man, right? Let's tell you the difference between Heal and Rift and Phoenix Dive. Let's not lead people down the wrong path. Because you lead them down the wrong path, they think you're talking right when you're talking nonsense. Let's tell you the distinction between the two. Phoenix Dive is for mobile gameplay and gives a ×2 cure when you use it. But you just get cure for 2 seconds and then it's gone. Yeah? Now I think, in my personal opinion, Phoenix Dive is better suited to a solar subclass with restoration build, because what you can do is Phoenix Dive and then run Ember of Empyrean. Let's see if I've even got it on. I haven't even got it on, but you can run Ember of Empyrean. Here we go. And then you can follow up with a Phoenix Dive by running that, and then you know you have infinite restoration afterwards. So I think Phoenix Dive is better on solar bread and butter classes, not on prismatic. It depends on what you're doing in the game. Certain times, alright, dive comes into the play and it's like, yeah, you'd be better off with dive with this, because maybe the map that you're on is more mobility style based, where you're doing more map rotation. The GM that I'm doing has not got a lot of map rotation in it, to be honest. So therefore, if you want to lock down a zone more often, Heal and Rift's better. It just is better. And for those that think playing Phoenix Dive is more aggressive gameplay, no. I'll show you the gameplay coming up, how that is actually false. You can do more aggressive DPS with a Rift. What are you talking about? This is a tool. Don't make no mistake. Rift is a tool. Phoenix Dive is a tool. Look, they're just tools. Don't need to be elitist about it. There we go. So that's explained. That's why I've got Rift on. I hope it makes sense. Incinerator Snap, Cold Snap Grenade. Aspects with Feed the Void, Helion. So the reason why I'm running Cold Snap is it's very nice with my build to the instant freeze, and then you can shatter them with the Incinerator Snap. It's all based around the Incinerator Snap, right? I don't run Bleak Watcher Turret in this because I feel as though you don't need to run Bleak Watcher. So I ran a fan favourite, Helion, in this. Fantastic, makes short work. I don't recommend Lightning Surge in this because it goes against the build's identity. Lightning Surge builds are separate to this. Don't make the mistake of running that either. That is for Hoyle builds and for Symphocept builds. Lightning Surge. It's not for this. You want to use Incinerator Snap, not Lightning Surge. So you don't run that. I don't like Weaver's Call. And Bleak Watcher's amazing, but, you know, Bleak Watcher, I don't think so. I think Helion's better with this build, because it's giving you that solar turret, more ignitions, more scorch. Because of this fragment here, Facet of Ruin enhances stasis damage and ignition damage. That will buff these things. Song of Flame, Transcendence Grenade, Cold Snap Grenade, and Incinerator Snap. That buffs all of that stuff. Facet of Ruin's buffing so much for me in this build. It's too good to not equip. Facet of Hope. While you have an elemental buff, your class ability regenerates more quickly. This is very good when you use an Incinerator Snap with Facet of Dawn, because you're going to get Radiant. There's your buff. Then you're going to get more class ability energy, therefore more rifts, therefore more melees, because the build's layered. It's not just more rifts, it's more melees as well. Facet of Protection goes on for more aggressive play, because you get that damage risk when you're surrounded. This goes on so that you can play more aggressive towards the adds, and that's what this build's about. Facet of Dominance is too good now. It gives overshields with artifact mods, and it adds a weakening effect to Freeze and Singularity in this case. Artifact mods, here they are on screen. The important ones to mention, I'm not mentioning all mods. Some of you want me to explain fully detailed information on artifact mods every video. Are you serious? I can't do that, man. I can give you a separate video about artifact mods. But right now, let's just talk about the particulars. Particulars are, Limit Break is a flat buff to Song of Flame for 30%. This will proc all the time because of Radiant. Volatile Marksman Enhanced, because I want my build to play back loop with this. A bit of it, because I am using a Void weapon. Malign Harvest gives you overshields on demand, and it's unbelievable. Flashover Defib always goes on. Dreadful Finisher, really good, obviously, with the build. Other things to mention is, don't run Overload LMG. You are ruining it if you run Overload LMG. Okay, you've had the artifact mods, so now just more about each mod on all my armor pieces. Double hands-on, increased super. Yep. This goes on its best in slot. I'll leave gauntlets till the end. Resistance mod, I had solar, arc and concussive resistance on. Boots, I had strand, scarf, strand, holster, recoup. The strand holster plays a big factor in this run. Yeah, you wouldn't think it would, but it does. Double outreach and procs ward for overshield. Double outreach gives me a 17% melee cooldown on rift pop to melee energy. Yeah, so the more rifts, the more melees. The more melees, the more good neutral gameplay. Momentum Transfer will give me a 12% buff to melee cooldown when I use my grenade. Momentum Transfer is very good for Transcendence gameplay. However, you can do this instead. Melee kickstart, heavy-handed. There you go. You can do it that way as well. And I think that's pretty nice. But remember, there's a 10-second cooldown on heavy-handed. Don't forget that. You know. So I went with what I went with the momentum transfer. And it was giving me more stuff when I was transcendent. It enhanced transcendent gameplay without the use of orbs. That's the beauty of it. Void Loader goes on because the scout was lagging for me without it. Yeah. Which I'm going to talk about weapons now. So you've had that. Now then, we pair that with the special weapon this season, Bastion. Is a melee-focused fusion rifle that does incredible damage. I'm using a melee-based build. Bastion goes on. I want to showcase the gameplay. Right, here we go. There it is. And for the scout doesn't look good, but it is. I'm using a pugilist scout, and it's craftable and it's void, so people have access to this. There are other pugilist weapons. This gives a 10% melee energy buff. On kill, 1 kill. If you get 1 red bar and kill, it's 10%. 5, that's 50%. 10, that's 100%. You know, so the Pugilist was doing very good for neutral gameplay, and it's a void weapon, so it'll give me more rift energy, therefore more outreach, therefore more melee energy. Yeah, and then Pro Memoria in the end. What you need to recognize with this build is it's overwhelmingly got more light energy in its kit. For example, Incinerator Snap, Helion, it's got Cold Snap, and Cold Snap's okay for Darkness Energy, but, you know, we need something more. Bastion will give Darkness Energy, but for that neutral gameplay loop, to get Transcendence even faster than that, is to run a Darkness LMG, Strand or Stasis. I recommend Strand because it's Strand Surge. Now, I told you not to run Overload LMG. It's simple. If you don't run Overload LMG, your LMG will be a barrier rounds LMG, and there are barrier champs in this because you're using Facet of Dawn with Incinerator Snap. It's obvious to me, but not to other people, I guess. But yeah, don't run it. Pro Memoria will be overcharged because it is a strand weapon. Now, it's also got Strategist, which is a 10% buff to Rift Energy. It's like Pugilist, but just for rifts. So you're going to get more rifts because of this. It's really good. I'm using Frenzy because I did do some runs with bait and switch, and I found that bait and switch wasn't required because there was no point in doing a bait and switch rotation because champs get melted by Bastion anyways. So I wanted the machine gun just to be a barrier shield breaking weapon and ad clear. That was it. And that it's strand energy. That was literally it. So Frenzy was actually better for me than bait and switch because Frenzy's more uptime and I don't need to do bait and switch rotations. Do you understand it? So there you go. That's all of that layered information for you of it all synergizing together. I hope that it makes sense. I've tried to explain everything to the best of my ability. But yeah, that was the build. On with the run. Okay, so on with the run. Let's see the playback loop of this build and see how potent it can be. With inside Terminus, you can skip the initial champs, and I'm not going to. I'm going to kill them because I think the identity of this run and build is to showcase, you know, what it's like on champs, what it's like on ad clear, what the Transcendence gameplay loop is like, and that sort of stuff. So I'm going to intentionally spawn these ads in. If you don't know, there's a current exploit with Insight where you can just skip them and they don't spawn in, but I'm not doing that, is what I'm saying to you. So I'm going to get a melee then Saint's Fists Bastion kill on this Hypernova just to get rid of him before he sets off. And the identity of this bit, this section here, is in actual fact to farm a little bit of ability energy off this first champ. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to get my volatile detonations, which therefore means barrier rounds. That allows me to then stun the champ. Then I'm going to make sure that I keep my volatile detonations and don't lose it, which that's exactly what's happening. And I use a Helion Rift to assist my damage. So yeah, we're playing passive on this little bit on purpose to gain a bit of ability energy because we are going to 1 hour super rather quickly. Yeah, well, I'm already 3/4 almost, which is good. Okay, so we'll get a rift down here because there's some ads pushed. Just get rid of these goblins so I can get a clean kill on this barrier. I'm going to use a Radiant Melee stun with the LMG. Then we'll go in with the Bastion damage afterwards. Remember, Bastion can't get barrier rounds because it's unstop. My Scout can, but the machine gun's a quicker stun on barrier. When you get Radiant, you get barrier rounds. That's why Overload LMG cannot be on for this build. Then I rush up for the final barrier in this room, get a finisher kill to recuperate, special ammo with Dreadful Finisher mod. Look at that, done less than 2 minutes, we've obliterated that room. But look at the pro to it. The pro is that I have a super to make the starting section more consistent for people. Yeah, I actually recommend that people do it this way, especially on this build, because it allows you to just not think, here we go, Data Lattice Elitist. I'm doing a Data Lattice farm while doing GM there, look. So look, we pop a super here so that we get the damage resist. I want to proc a Devour though. I get my Devour and then I'm just going to do my finger snaps. Don't use your grenade on this build. Only at the latter end of your Song of Flame. So if your Song of Flame has 5% super left, use a grenade. But other than that, it should never be grenades. Always just melee. Your Song of Flame super lasts longer if you just use the melee. That's why this is also so very good. We use the back end of the super to kill the goblins, and now look at my ability energy. So I've got Transcendence, but I'm not going to use it because I don't need to. I have no need to use it right here. So all I'm going to do is use Cold Snap to freeze the ads, Helion to scorch them, and just defend the plate. That's all I'm doing here. Yeah, just defending the plate with the LMG, spamming it if you like, because the LMGs, you know, I don't need to manage the ammo that much on the weapon. More Bastion. Bastion ammo needs managed more so. So, plate is capped. We get a stun. Incinerator Snap melts both champs. I want to get one of them finishable though, which this one will be. See, because the playback loop of this, and has been the entire season, is to be micromanaging your special ammo because you may as well from encounter to encounter. Because look, I've just melted those 2 unstops and the champs at the start, and I'm full on special. That's really nice because we're going up against, in the big bad room here, 9 champs. This is where all of the inside Terminus optimizations are done, especially on like more speed run-esque type runs, is in this room here, because there's a lot of optimizations that you can do to speed it up, and you're going to see that in this section. I'm going to play my positioning exactly perfectly so that we can melt down all of the 9 champs in this room blisteringly fast. Just watch the footage as it goes on. We snipe the boss with our scout, whatever you want to call it. We scout the boss. That will send the next couple of champs in the arena. We come here. This is not by chance. We use a radiant melee. I'm going to get a stun on this barrier because he's jumped to me. So taking care of the barrier is actually better. Take care of the barrier first if you can. And then we're going to stand around here and then pop a Transcendence. This is my Transcendence pop. We'll kill this Unstop with Bastion plus my Transcendence. But I'm going to clear out some of the rest of these ads. I've got a Bane here, I may as well. Because this Bane will just chase me. So I may as well just get rid of him now. Then I'll pick up the Relic. And that's the first 3 champs, but there's still a few more. This next bit goes crazy, it really does. Don't use super yet or anything like that. Just, you know, take care of the gladiators. Use an Incinerator Snap. That gets the buff for Bastion, doing incredible damage. We keep Rifting as well. I'm going to go in with a good Incinerator Snap, then Raging, and then just LMG. That's a better way to prime the champs on this build, at least. That's how I found it. That's why I wasn't running bait and switch. Are you checking how quickly I'm melting these champs? I have no requirements for bait and switch. Remember, bait and switch is a higher number, but requires more investment of you. You've got to swap all your weapons around. On a Bastion loadout, I felt like I was running bait and switch LMG, and I felt like, nah, this isn't it. So I just ran a Frenzy LMG. It was fantastic for me, because I get a flat buff and I don't need to do anything. You know, no swaps. Okay, this is the optimizations. We get a Radiant melee. We're still Radiant. Get rid of this barrier, though. I need to get rid of him quick. There we go. Melt down the barrier. Then I pop Transcendence, because I didn't quite have it, but now I do. And this is where the optimizations is going to come in, like I say. We'll get rid of the Unstop. A barrier champ pushes as well, but I want to pick up the Relic and then drop the Relic. This spawns the additional champ in. And then we've still got Transcendence. Look at Transcendence energy. Just going to keep Radiant melee to break the barrier champ shield and keep debuffing them. I keep debuffing them. I keep getting my shield over shields because of Maligned Harvest, and I can just run rampant. The final barrier has come back here. That's fine. I'll debuff them and freeze them, and I'll just, you know, keep using my... Look at the Transcendence, what it's done there for me. It's cleared out everything. Alright, I recommend that I use a super roundabout here because you're going to need to use it anyways on some of these ads and the champ coming up. I was trying to get Devour there. It didn't proc for some reason. That was just unlucky that. The ignition wasn't there probably. But yeah, this is what the super's for. This little bit here, because you need to push aggressively on this bit. Because if you're leaving some of the ads alive, that's fine, but they push you up here. So you've got to strategize a good super for that bit. That's a good time. Well, it's a bad time, should I say. And you may die at that point if you don't super. So I recommend that's where you super. Don't worry about supers for the boss. You're going to get that plenty anyways. So yeah, now we just push up aggressive here on this barrier champ. We've taken care of him. Remember, we get amplified on non-arc subclasses because of Defib Blast. Defib Blast will proc bolt charges, therefore amplification, therefore speed booster. People are getting confused in that. A couple of my hunter runs, people have been confused. How are you getting amplified? How are you getting amplified on a Warlock that's prismatic? How are you doing it? How are you getting amplified on Solar Titan? Well, because of Defib Blast. That's why you should be running Defib Blast entire season. Never take it off for GMs. Okay, I'm going to run past all these ads, and I was manipulating both the Cabal enemy race and the Vex enemy race to fight each other so that I can then run past them. Because I haven't cleared out all the ads, that's intentional, because we want to get a quickish run on this build. That's the goal of this run, isn't it? To showcase this build to my best of my abilities. We've still got Speed Booster. I want to try and keep Speed Booster and run past the Goblins. I think I'll lose it here. We'll see how it plays out. I've still got it, but I'm going to end up losing it now. It's hard to keep Speed Booster going to this stage. You end up losing it. Yep, and then I'm just going to jump over these ads. Let's do ammo check. So heavy ammo is nearly full, so it's pretty good. Special ammo is 10. The one con I would say to Bastion, if it had a disadvantage, is its ammo. It's 17. I mean, most special ammo fusions are around about 17. But Telestra's like 22, 23. You know... And some other fusions a little bit higher. So I would say the ammo capacity on the Bastion isn't the greatest, but it's an amazing weapon. It's a 10 out of 10 weapon for damage. It's incredible. When you combine it with melee damage builds, you just melt. Okay, 9 minutes in. I'm just going to cap this plate. Aiming down sights prevents the enemies from spawning in right away, by the way. I don't really know how to explain it to you properly, but it delays the spawn. I don't know why. Still trying to figure it out myself. But yeah, doing that, look how easy I can cap the plate. The ads didn't even get to that point because for some reason ADS and delays enemy spawn. I don't know why, it's crazy. Anyways, let's focus on the run. This is where I'm going to do damage from. I'm going to get a Transcendence here, and yep, we do get stomped. That's unfortunate, but it is good standing here, make no mistake, once we get cooking with it. It allows me to push the boss quite aggressive without being in middle. Yeah, because we've got a platform to fight on. My Transcendence is about to run out. But I'm close to my super. I'm not going to use super though. So my goal, in actual fact, is to get another Transcendence back. So let's pay attention to Transcendence meters. So far I'm getting plenty of darkness. Dark and light are matched. Now I'm starting to do a bit of scout damage. Taking out some of these ads. I know that there's a Zealous Bane there, so I need to deal with him accordingly. I'm going to get a rift on this platform again. Do some incinerator snaps. I'm actually going to super. Oh, okay. I didn't realize there was super on this one. So I super to speed up the damage phase. This speeds it up. Yeah, actually I get a massive time saving because of this. I actually do. So yeah, this is actually better for speed. Worse for consistency probably, because that means you've got no super to cap a plate. But if you've got Transcendences, you can pretty much survive on a plate, no problem. Yeah, with overshields and stuff. So look, Transcendence energy is nearly full. I'm just doing all my damage with Bastion on this platform. Really good place to damage him there with Bastion. That's good, that. We get rid of the boss. I pop a Transcendence immediately. Probably premature, probably a bit too soon. But I'm allowed to cap the plate, and I end up capping it with minimal issues, if I'm being honest. I'm also looking to get my next Song of Flame. Hands-on's going to make a good job for me here for getting more Song of Flames and stuff. Yeah, that's why I had double hands-on and it did work. I did feel it work, and like, look at the chunks I'm getting. That's quite a lot for Song of Flame. Plate is capped. I'm going to go right immediately to plate 2. I don't generally do this on runs, but I'm like, you know what? Let's stress test this build to its maximum and try and cap all plates as quickly as I can. Yeah, and that's what I'm doing. So Transcendence energy, look at that. More light, see? We're getting less dark. That's why the Strand LMG comes on. Look at this, the darkness meter. There we go. Boom. We get Transcendence. Then we pop it. So do you see now how the darkness LMG is fulfilling its role of meeting that darkness meter? Because look, you could say, oh, well, Bastion gives light and dark. Yeah, but if you spammed Bastion and you've got no more ammo left, then you can't get darkness energy from it, can you? Let's think about it logically, yeah? If you've got a light machine gun on, what's the point in that? If you use an arc one, a solar one, it's not as effective. You know why I know? Because I tested it already. So I was like, with prismatic builds, this is what I'll say. Test your prismatic builds, but if you feel as though it's lacking in either darkness or light energy, then adjust your build accordingly for that. Adjust it and be like, alright, would this weapon be better than that weapon because I get more... You're filling in the gaps. Let's not... make out prismatic builds are high skill gaps. No, they're not. You're just figuring out whether you need more light or darkness energy. That's all it is. It's nothing special. Players aren't doing things. It's not rocket science, lads. Come on. It's just a meter, look. Yeah. You can see time and time again I keep lacking on darkness energy. Well, I don't, because I end up fulfilling it. Look, like right now I'm doing it. Yeah. And there's other good weapons, but I wanted to showcase this with Bastion. Yeah, because Bastion's a melee-based fusion and it does incredible damage with the build. Witherhoard would have been good with this, for example. I would like to run this build with Witherhoard. Yeah, but I feel as though right at the minute Bastion's very important, very popular. So Transcendence goes in for the damage. Look at how aggressive I can play. I can play real aggressive because of facet protection, weakening overshields. I keep DPSing the boss whilst tanking all the damage and poisoning the entire room and clearing out the room for me. There's no ads up. I've just spawned in tons of enemies and there's none up. Yeah. So now I'm going to start building up some... Look at Helion doing damage for me. I'm getting a lot of light energy. I'm getting darkness energy from the LMG. And look at my meter. But I'm going to go in with some Bastion damage to fill both light and dark because now I've got a little bit of ammo for it. And I'm basically farming out my last Transcendence or super, but I believe I just super. Let's just watch the damage for the end. Cold Snap goes in, pretty much just there for Transcendence, but we're going to pop a Song of Flame, and then just look at the damage at the end here. I didn't pick up any double damage buffs in the run, which was unfortunate. I probably did have them, but they end up going elsewhere. But yeah, that was a solo GM with this Mustang melee based build. Incredible Warlock main should be going for this. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.